Hello, everyone. Welcome to Whitley Penn Talks, where we give you valuable insights to help you make confident, informed decisions and move your business forward. My name is Emily Landry, host of our WP Cares episode series, and today we are joined by some special guests from our third highlighted Whitley Penn Philanthropic Fund recipient. For those who don't know, the mission of our fund is to cultivate a legacy of generosity amongst Whitley Penn partners and employees for community impact. We support local initiatives, empower underserved populations, and foster sustainable growth in our neighborhoods. Today, I'm sitting down with Hunter Beaton, founder of Day One Bags, and Alan Rich, partner at Whitley Penn. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining me today. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Emily.
Thank you so much. It's really an honor to be here.
I'm so glad. The honor's all mine, though, Hunter. Let me start with a question for you. Hunter, what inspired you to start Day One Bags, and what personal experiences shaped your vision? You can tell us a little bit more about Day One Bags too as you get into it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I started Day One Bags actually as a high schooler, and it was an Eagle Scout project of mine. I was working to find a way to support my local community in Central Texas, and it really also started from a younger age in the sense that my experience with the foster care system was rather young, in the sense that my three now adopted siblings all came into our home through the foster care system. And something that I experienced with their journey into my family's home was they were given trash bags when they're moving into our home. And, when I saw this when I was really young, 10, 11, I noticed this, but it never really kind of clicked until when I got older and I was looking to do a project. I had recalled that this happened in my mind, and I said, I wonder if this is, just a one-off instance. And it turns out, thousands of youth all across the nation are dealing with this situation where they're given trash bag or nothing at all to transport their items. And so I started an Eagle Scout project giving proper luggage to these foster youth as they're transitioning into new homes or wherever they might be moving to. And we've really grown since and have taken off, and I'd be happy to, delve more into all the exciting things that we're doing nowadays.
I can't wait. That's such a beautiful start. I didn't realize it was an Eagle Scout project when Alan nominated you.
Yeah, it was way back in the day, and I of course back in the day I thought, oh, Eagle Scout project, I want to just do one and done, and then it turned out it grew, and it was just a labor of love, and anyway, it's been really, really great.
That's amazing. So, Alan, what inspired you to nominate Day One Bags, and what's your involvement with the organization?
So Hunter mentioned it just now, and being an Eagle Scout. So I share that with Hunter, that I'm an Eagle Scout as well, and my son is around the same age as Hunter, and so he did his own Eagle project as well. And so once you're an Eagle, you're always an Eagle, and we're taught through our merit badges, citizenship in the community and in your nation, and so those things really impact you. So anytime I hear an Eagle going out for its project, I first heard about it when I was on the Boerne school board, and Hunter made a big impact. And most Eagle projects are not quite as impactful as what Hunter's is, and it continued to grow and really statewide. And so it had a big impact, and we were cheering them on as people came aboard and supported. So I was part of that support, and continuing that support now. And so really just that Eagle connection, I just kind of fell in love with the idea and the fact that a young man in our high school was looking and seeing where he could help and make a difference. And that was encouraging.
Alan, I have to say I owe a lot of great, success, but also, a great gratitude for Boerne and the community of Boerne, because I just don't think this, this kind of project or endeavor would have taken off anywhere else. I really am grateful for the amount of people and support we received through that. It was just truly tremendous.
Oh,
It's a great community. They're very
Mhm.
supportive.
that's so sweet. So, Alan, did you know Hunter before you heard about the project?
I did not, and that
Uh,
was my first introduction to him was hearing about the Eagle Project as it kind of grew, and he did presentations, and there's more story to the Eagle story, but really the day one bags was just something that caught everybody's imagination of didn't know that was going on, and to see somebody take care of something that really nobody was seeing was remarkable.
Mm, I love that. Okay, so Hunter, how do you measure success at the organization and what does a win feel like for you?
Yeah, I think the way that, Day One Bags kind of approaches successes, we do look at the numbers. We do, of course, track kind of all the different bags we're giving out. To date, we've given out 260,000 bags to foster youth all
Whoa.
across the nation, 47 states. It's been, just truly an amazing grace of ours. And on top of that, we really try to focus our efforts here in Texas, and there's a great need here, and that's always kind of been an approach of ours. But on top of just numbers and seeing how many requests are coming in, we also really do look at what does it mean to receive actual luggage, an actual backpack, and an actual duffel bag. And to us, that's really how we, kind of gauge our impact is when we have discussions with foster youth I would want to share in the future, it's always, how did these make you feel? Because our motto has always been dignity, not trash. And that's how we can provide that. We can provide this opportunity to have dignity come into a place where trash bags or trash, receptacles was the norm. And that's really, that's how our team kind of approaches that.
Oh, that's great. So, what kind of feedback do you typically get with the bags? Are there any specific stories that have stuck with you that you're comfortable sharing with us?
Yeah, there's a lot of really great stories. For us, part of it is we always want to respect, these youth as they're transitioning into these different homes or all of these things like that. But when we do have the occasion to meet with some of them, a lot of them, I'd say a lion's share of them, really don't know what to do with it. They've been handed a lot of things that were secondhand. So something brand new, which is a really premium quality, bag that's made here in America and it has a lifetime warranty, is always kind of jarring to them. I've had multiple ask me, when do I return it? Or how can I get it back to you? And I'm like, this is not for me. This is for you. And it is yours to keep. And so that's one that's, I always have to kind of encourage them. It's okay. It's yours to use. But on top of that, some of our other campaigns that we've focused on, which is just providing dignity to the youth as a whole. One of our campaigns we have in November is we give, the adopted youth who are getting adopted by a family, we put plush animals on the jury seats. And so after their adoption, process has been completed, they can go over to the jury seat and adopt one of their own stuffed animals, and they can give it a name and all that good stuff. But we've had some really awesome ones, and we've had, one little girl who got a lamb, and the judge asked her why she chose a lamb, and she said, "Well, it's because when a lamb truly feels safe once it finds a home." And I felt like she found a home in that
Mm,
day, and it was just a great moment for us.
that is such a beautiful story. And I love that it's
Hmm.
not, I mean, the bags alone are so beautiful, but it's such a sweet way to expand a little
Mm.
bit what you're doing and that mission of dignity for these
Hmm.
children. So, you started, or Alan started kind of talking about how Bernie has had a big start to the organization. I want to kind of pivot to what role do volunteers and community partners play in the mission? I'm suspecting Bernie may still have a really special place in the work that Day One Bags is doing, but is there other roles that volunteers and community partners help you with?
Course. Yeah, it is, especially and I know that a lot of nonprofits, especially small nonprofits that, don't have a huge labor force around them, they rely on volunteers, and we're the exact same way. We really do rely on community impact, and that's been the case for us for a long, long time. And really, we focus on the Boerne area, Central Texas, San Antonio, but really across the state too. We have, I like to call them a whole army of quilters who have reached out to us, and they love doing quilting, and it's their labor of love. And each of these handmade quilts are going directly to graduating high school seniors that were in the foster care system, and they absolutely love these gifts because it's very rare that they get something handmade, made specifically for them, and so it means a lot to them. So we couldn't do that without our volunteers, and they work just tirelessly to make sure that that happens, and we're very grateful to them. And there's just so many different stories of volunteers coming in out of the woodwork, sharing their time, talent, and treasure, kind of what sector they're working in, and kind of making it their own in our system and providing dignity to these youth. So it's been a great joy to have so many people rally behind us, especially on that volunteer side of things.
That's wonderful. Well
Hmm.
said. Nonprofit community definitely needs more people engaging in volunteer roles. So, what have been some of the biggest challenges facing day one bags, and how have you overcome them?
I think, yeah, the biggest challenges we see facing us is, the need is always going to be there. I think with more individuals moving to Texas, kind of, how we look at things moving to Texas, and a number of youth that are entering into the system, the need is still very much present. And I think that's a very daunting task for a lot of different organizations, and for us included. But I do think we try to, as much as we can, make sure that the youth are aware of these things happening. And then on top of that, the organizations that serve, in their lives, that are, present schools, that they know that we're there to help these foster youth, group homes that actually house these youth. We know that we can reach out to them and say, if you have this youth coming into your care, please know that we're there to help serve. But on top of that, all the different community volunteers, foster parents can know that if they meet another foster parent that hasn't heard of us, they can share, the impact we do. And we hope to be a good relationship builder for all the different, organizations that are serving foster youth. So when we hear about, a child struggling with school, we know who to refer them to. And so we really try to be a great connector of all the different organizations, because we know we can't serve every single need of these youth. Some organizations will have to be able to come in a sector that we're not capable in helping them with. And that's where we feel like we can do a great need. And I think a lot of our partners feel the same way.
That's great.
Hmm.
So, what's something you've learned about youth in the foster care system and those youth experiencing homelessness that you wish more people understood?
Yeah, one misconception I had was that, maybe not, I think I intuitively knew that the system wasn't completely fleshed out. There's always going to be, things to work out. But what I didn't realize was how much community really does drive their success. I had no idea that, while they do rely on a lot of, government assistance, or support that they need from, government, entry, it really does. They really focus a lot on how community nonprofits, community resources, community businesses help them out specifically. And I had no idea that that was something that was really key. And yeah, just for example, for our work, I didn't think that something as simple as luggage needed to be something that had to be addressed in this system. I didn't know that there needed to be a organization in place to help foster that. But it makes a lot of sense when you think about how a transition moves. You hear that a transition needs to take place, and it could happen at the end of a school day, and they can't go back to their current residence or things like that. It's often a very quick transition. And so with this, all these communities fill in a specific spot. And I think that's something to always recognize, is that these community organizations that are serving really provide a vital role in their success of these youth. And I think that's something great that we need to continually remind ourselves. And I had to do it myself too.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Ellen, I know you're really involved with the local community. Do you have anything you want to add to what Hunter said? Very well.
So it is just looking for where you can make a difference. Hunter said it well that you can't be everywhere, but if you pick one thing
Mm,
that you can go and you can help out on, then that's where you should be. And there's a proverb that it says, "Hey, if you see something that needs to be done," I'm paraphrasing, then
Yeah.
that you ought to go and do it. And so, if your heart is tweaked that something needs to be done, pick it up and go and help. And we see that played out all the time.
it's beautiful. Well said. Hunter, what's something in the local community you want our listeners to know about? So, one thing we didn't talk about when we got on the podcast,
Hmm.
right now, as we're recording, Whitley Penn is primarily throughout the state of Texas. We have one awesome office in New Mexico. Shout out to our Hobbs office. Um, I really think that we really cover most of the geographic area throughout
Mm,
Texas. So you've talked
mm.
about how you primarily work through Texas. So when I say local, you could talk particularly about the area, more in that hill country area, or you could talk all about Texas.
Well, no, I think it's yeah, first off, I want to thank y'all for what you're doing. Even reaching out to smaller organizations like us has just been so impactful for our needs, and it really helps us put us on the map for hopefully receiving more donations, but also to receive those requested bags and different areas that need support. So we thank y'all for that. But I guess since we do focus on a lot of the Texas initiatives, I could stick around our side of that thing, and I think for us, the big thing that we're looking for kind of happening in the local community has been we really wanted to provide dignity throughout the whole stage of the foster care system, starting from very, very young. We have a lot of initiatives helping newborns, 1-year-olds, toddlers, things like that. But we also want to see it all the way through to, graduating high school seniors, and even those who have exited the system. We want to make sure that their needs are still met, even though technically they might not be in the foster care system. And so I think that's kind of where the approach of the community drives in is we always want to provide awareness, especially in our local area, of here are some of the local youth. Maybe we can't share their names, but we know the numbers. We know how many are in our local area. Let's say 80 are going to be going off to, trade or college, or they're going to begin joining the workforce, or we have some that go into the military. And I think that this is a great opportunity for us to realize that there's 80 youth among us that are very hard to see, have lived in 14 homes in the past, 5 years, but they've exited the system. They're going on to a new step, and we want to encourage them even in that journey. So I hope that kind of gives a picture at like where we want to go with our, approach. But we have an uphill battle, and we're always continuing to look at how we can improve, providing a good scope of what's happening.
I like that you started with this idea of I saw this from the three kids that entered my family home. And then you said, well, we're not thinking about they never receive a homemade blanket. And then we're not thinking about this. And you've sort of let their stories pull you where you need to be pulled rather than making it an issue of pride. And well, I really wanted to have this be a one and done Eagle Scout project, and that's all it's going to be. You've really let it go where it needs to go. So I think that's a great testament to your faithfulness and
Oh, thank
the
you.
cause.
Yeah, a lot of
Okay.
people have supported us in that journey, and we couldn't do it without it. Alan and everyone. It's just been wonderful.
We're glad to have been a tiny part of that story. So our next question, we were able to support you with a grant. Do you have plans, or have you already spent the money that we sent you? And if so, are you able to share how you spent the money?
Yeah, you caught my bluff. Yeah, we whenever we receive a lot of, support, we are quick to make sure that it goes out because it's just like I mentioned before, the need is always very great. And so for us, it was specifically working with just especially our high school seniors. We're looking at providing. We have a whole campaign that runs right in that graduation season called Adopt a Senior, and that for us is a huge opportunity to make sure that we've got, it's on average about 500 each year in Texas. And yeah, it's a lot. And a lot of them, we want to make sure that they have graduation gifts. It really started out of COVID. A lot of them didn't have graduation parties. Their group homes couldn't celebrate anything, or their, case workers, or we actually, there's a preparation. Sorry, you might see hear my baby. There's a preparation for adult living community that helps kind of put on parties. But when COVID hit, those parties couldn't happen. And so we tried to fill that gap with a bag and a bunch of necessary supplies, a $100 gift card, some school supplies if they were planning to go to school. And then that's where our quilts came in. And so
Oh,
a lot of those funds have gone directly and I've already been impacting youth. And we're hearing back from universities who we're hoping to journey with in the future to make sure that these youth are continuing to receive that dignity. And it's been really awesome. So we're thankful that we received it because it couldn't have come at a better time for us in serving our Texas community.
that's wonderful.
Hmm.
Need to see if our campus recruiting team has any connections at universities we can help.
Ooh. Most definitely, yeah. There's a lot of great organizations, but we're coming to find out that a lot of foster youth didn't even know that they exist at these campuses. That there's specific organizations, but really divisions of the university that help them out, and we're hoping to partner with them to make sure that they know, if they're there, they know that there's support there, so they don't have to worry about where they're going to pay, their rent or all these different factors. And so it's been great.
That's
Hmm.
awesome.
Yeah.
So, Alan, will you tell us more about what you wish our team knew about the philanthropic fund or about day one bags? I think Hunter did a great job covering day one bags, but maybe there's something he's shy to share because he doesn't want to come off as prideful. But I want to make sure that you have that opportunity to share with us too.
Absolutely. Well, when the firm started the separate fund, it was pretty exciting to me because it's always one of those things that you want to be a part of something that's bigger than you. And probably one of the neatest things that I've seen this past year is when the floods happened in Kerrville, that immediately the next day, uh, Monday, after all that happened, the firm had designated to the next month that all the donations that came into the fund were going to help Kerrville, and that's our community, and so for the whole firm across the state to come in and to help our folks in our area that are impacted. That meant a lot to us and to the community, and that was just fantastic. Hunter mentioned it earlier about the quilting. I think that was kind of neat. And just you take these folks that are making these quilts, and I've seen that firsthand in my life when a relative or a friend gets a handmade quilt. It's something special, and so to get one that they take a lot of time,
Yes.
and so that was one of the ones I was going to mention as well. But um, thing that really caught my eye, about this is that Hunter's group impacted all of the places our markets are at and where our
Hmm.
people are working. And so that really kind of caught my eye as we were visiting about nominating them. And then when we were able to inform them, and that was a great moment. I think he and I both were a little bit teary eyed. And so it made a big difference. And just to have a part to help out these kids is fantastic. Because the journey is hard sometimes, and I think you hope that someday they take that and they help the next kid down the line.
I love that. Well, Hunter, if our listeners are interested, how could they get involved? And then this podcast will be coming out in early 2026. I have to literally look as a tax person, I'm always looking, and tax returns are a year behind, right? So I'm like, what year are we in? What year are we moving to? um, so if you have any exciting initiatives inside of 2026, we'd love to talk about them. This episode will be coming out before graduation season. So that's a big one in the May, June timeframe, I would think. And then talked about adoption month in November. But I want you to have the chance to highlight anything you want to highlight.
No, you really did a great job of kind of giving a good scope of some of the big things we have. Or we do have that graduation season. We have adoption in November, but interspersed, we have a lot of great initiatives happening in February with Valentine's Day, and we also have a lot of Christmas kind of activities as well. But we're really looking at that approach of the Adopt a Senior and helping out some of the universities or those who are entering into higher education. That's kind of been a focus of where can we, make sure that we're meeting those needs. And so I think that's a great way to kind of join. But the best way to kind of see at what we're doing is going on our website at Day One Bags. That's DAY numerical 1 bags.org. And that's kind of our pulse on this, the organization, what we're serving. And it's a great way to kind of check out what we're doing and kind of learn how you can volunteer or, of course, donate to us financially. And it'd be a great way to serve our foster youth throughout all across the nation, but especially those who are in Texas.
Thank you so much to both of you for coming on. I appreciate you for sharing more about the organization. It really was every time I record one of these podcasts, I'm so uplifted by what our nonprofit community is doing and the sweet ideas they have and they take and they run with, and they just bless our community in so many different ways. And there's no exception here for you guys. Y'all are doing a wonderful job at Day One Bags.
Thank you. We couldn't do it without supporters like y'all. It's been awesome.
Yeah, we appreciate your leadership in all this too, Emily. You're doing great.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
So for those listening, if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or listen right on our website at whitleypenn.com/podcast. Thank you again, Hunter and Alan. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day.